culture. Everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 48 of Everything is Permitted here at Wade's Comic Madness. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, and the Master of Puns, and the Master of the Dab, Brittany Tobes.
I don't know if I want that. Can that be redacted?
No, because I saw you do it again and again and again.
It's when it drops, man. It's just that awkward pause, and I'm just like, I do it to make you laugh.
It's every time now.
It works. It gets you.
It's like your new thing. So it's sticking around. And we might not do it every
dab.
episode, but we're getting there. How we doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, it's like just a chill Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only one besides maybe Bill and Kevin, who are our guests, who's like so hyped for this episode. I was like,
I mean, I'm hyped every episode.
I was going. It's Star Trek, though. I'm like, I'm ready. My body is ready.
Jean-Luc out.
This week on our show, it is our much anticipated, super controversial, we can't stop talking about it edition of
The Raiders of the Bargain Bin.
Raiders of the Bargain Bin. We're getting there. It's coming. You can't fight it.
Wait.
I know. I can't wait either.
Jesus God.
And we can actually finally reveal the film we will be reviewing, and it is Cats. Fucking Cats. I don't even know what else to say.
I still have like three of the songs stuck in my head, and it was like, what, a week or two ago?
It was like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it was almost 2 weeks ago that we saw it, and oh my God. I can't. I described it to a coworker, and they're like, "Oh, I might take some friends and see it." I'm like, "No, you're not gonna fucking do that. Not ever.
Yeah, don't choose to ruin your life that way. Don't do what we did.
Or be like that lady in front of us who was like dancing and singing with the whole entire movie and then yelled at two teenagers.
You know what? I'm happy for her because she got some enjoyment out of this movie. I don't know how much, but she got something.
Oh no, she got every worth every penny for that matinee that she went to go see.
It ruined my life, but I low-key enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, it was wild from start to finish. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
But we'll save that for the review.
Exactly.
We'll save that for the review. And then we are now at Yellow Alert. Picard debuts next week, and we pick the brains of the best and brightest over at Starfleet Academy to bring you the very best of one, Jean-Luc Picard. Joining us in 10 Forward for that segment later on will be Brittany's cousin and all-around Trek enthusiast, Kevin Upper, and making his long-awaited return to the show from the Cinescape podcast and Cinescape Media, Bill Rowdy Tozzi is also joining us. He'll be dropping us with all of that Trek knowledge. So jam-packed show. Let's get right to it. Announcements and shout-outs very quickly. Our first really big announcement, really excited about this. We are now on Patreon. What does that mean? Our show is always going to remain free. No doubt about that. But by becoming a patron and supporting our show either for $2 or $5 a month, you'll get invited to our patrons only Facebook group, which has already been a ton of fun, and then get early access to Raiders of the Bargain Bin, which your first bit of early access comes, you've already had it. So you've already heard that Cats review, pretty awesome. And then exclusive Patreon only segments for our EIP VIPs. With that, we'd like to give shout outs to our EIP VIPs. We already have a good amount of them. Billy Peets, Heather Reppert, Nikki Veazey, Matt Moore, and our good friend and social media team member, Rob Migliaccio. I'm like shocked that we already have so many patrons. It's really awesome. And we are also already taking polls for since we're taking our season break in February, what our exclusive content is. And it looks like we're going to be doing a Sonic review, which I'm kind of excited about.
So give us your Patreon edge. It's too early.
It's too Yeah.
I say it's too early, but there was one episode where like 3 seconds in I made a joke and he was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad. Let's get into some rants and raves. Who's got one? Do our guests get in on this? If they want to, they can.
I do have a tiny rant.
Rant away.
Like, I know we've talked about this before, but news sites that share misinformation, especially about like the Obi-Wan thing where they were saying the show was like going to be canceled. I was like, no, Disney's a greedy company. Star Wars is doing well, whether or not like people agree with what's happening in the universe or not. Like, they're making so much money, they're not going to just cancel Obi-Wan. So seeing like 3 different sites, all of which share, like, we got this covered, just constantly bad news. Like, as soon as it was shared on the internet, I was just like, just don't even pay them any attention. Don't share their stories. It's just not true.
I know it's way above Anonymous's pay grade, but I would love for them to like hack and disable and delete We Got This Covered from the face of the universe because they are just fucking awful. like the worst, absolutely the worst. So yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow, how do you really feel about them?
They can go fuck themselves. That's how I feel. Bill, do you happen to have a rant or a rave?
Yeah, you know what? Something I've been, I have a query on my mind is, I was eating Chinese food recently, and all Chinese restaurants pretty much have the same big sheet paper menu, right?
Yeah.
It's a big menu, yeah.
Who standardized that? Where did that come from? Is there some kind of headquarters out there that was like, like when you want to go and you're thinking like, I'm going to open a Chinese restaurant, like, is there some counsel that you submit to get this standard menu that like you can now open your business?
I was going to say it's easy. It's just whatever the white people order.
I was going to say it's probably the same place that they outsource their fortune cookies from.
I don't know. I mean, that's I gotta.
But
I'm trying to figure out how this whole operation comes together. I mean, if you come over here, whether from China or another country, or you're living here already, and you're just like, I'm starting up a Chinese restaurant. I know I need a space to work out of and equipment, and I need that big fucking menu so people know what I have to purchase here. Who said this is the Chinese food menu?
And it's also the one menu that you put in your drawer that when you open up your drawer, it immediately gets like ripped up.
Oh,
and all
it's
screwed
all
up.
like, folded in 8 different ways. There's like coupons that you got in the mail that are all, weaved up in there.
I propose a possible solution.
Dig it.
You don't even have to change the format. You could use like the same big paper and just roll it up like a scroll. And then instantly you're rebranded. Yeah. Right.
I like it. Do you have a rant or a rave?
That can follow that up. No.
I like it. Good enough. Matthias.
So I'll just do a quick shout out, even though it happened about a week ago, and I know I put it in the chat and I don't think we had time to include it, but basically the shutting down of College Humor and Dorkly. If you want to read an interesting thread, go to Adam Conover's Twitter page where he basically breaks down like how Facebook essentially screwed their site over the long term with like their views and all that. He basically breaks it down over like a multi-Twitter page post. It's good reading and it's kind of sad. I love College Humor. Like some of their skits are funny as shit, and their Dorkly stuff has like almost always made me laugh. I know they're trying to like reorganize, but I'm hoping that they don't go away forever because, as I said, I love both College Humor and Dorkly, so I would be really sad if they vanished from the internet.
Which it looks like they are.
Yeah, they pretty much did that.
Well, the thing is that they said they're keeping the Dropout service for 6 months to basically put out content that they had already made, and I actually might sign up for it because they said they're probably going to include like a download option by the end of this month. So I like What the Fuck 101, which is an animated thing they do of like real stuff from the world that is like obviously messed the hell up. Like, as I said, I'd be sad if they deleted all their content eventually and it just vanished from the internet. So
I'm not really losing any sleep over College Humor. Like some of their stuff is really funny, and like it was really, really funny when I was in high school, but like I see it every now and then. I'm like, oh yeah, there's College Humor. I don't know. I'm not as nostalgic about it, but I feel you. I feel you. You good? I know you're giving me
I'm good
for like not liking
Julian.
College Humor.
I'm good. Go to hell, Julian.
If I was to rant real quick on College Humor, I absolutely do not like that Adam guy. The portly guy. Oh, well,
Yeah, Adam
ruins
everything. Yeah,
he has that
Adam
show
Conover.
where he's just like very spastic, like, oh, well, in the end. And it's like, dude, just get a suit that fits. I'm like, who are you kidding? Slim Fit? Come on.
Slim Fit. I have a rave. I know I usually rant, but I have a rave.
That's good.
I think you put this on the auctions yesterday, or you wrote it down.
I wrote it down, so.
I won this on auction here at Wade's last night. It is a box of awesome Star Wars toys, like old school stuff for $15. I got the motherload, like Darth Vader getting electrocuted.
I still don't
4
get that
different
figure.
like Darth Mauls.
And he's missing his arms.
Oh, it's in there. It's in like at the bottom. I got like this awesome die-cast full metal jacket. Oh, Ray. I know that was awful.
You could like throw it at somebody and hurt them.
Yeah, if I threw that at your head, you'd be really pissed off at me. This awesome like full robe Darth Maul that I know Brittany would appreciate.
I think I already have him.
I figured. Do it. Do it. We got Emperor Oh, her ankles are being
Fully
weird.
movable.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Emperor Sheev Palpatine.
Are you going to go through the whole box?
Yeah, I know.
No,
Are
I'm
you
gonna
going
just pick out a few more. The person that's
Don't you
biggest
dare.
on Britney's shit list right now.
Darth Emo himself?
Darth Emo, Kylo Ren. And we'll do like one more. Oh, this is actually like kind of one of the gems. I'm gonna open this up. You know, from episode 1,
Oh my God.
the hologrammer.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Are you going to check out your midichlorians there, bud?
Yeah, we're gonna do a metachlorian count.
Oh dear God.
And this actually
Execute
lights
order
up.
66.
Or at least I think, oh yeah, there we go.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah. At last we'll reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last
the
we'll
Sith
have
will
our
have our
revenge. So I
Wow.
got all of this whole box full of shit that my kids will be able to play with for years. And I have a whole nother box like from when I was a kid for $15. $15. And like I was like standing by it so no one like put the outbid on me.
I grabbed Ray to
like,
protect her.
Okay, that's from Evil Kylo.
Like, get out of here.
So
No, you gotta like push
I'm
them
moving him
together
to the
so
other
they-
side of the box.
You gotta push
No,
them together so they kiss.
That's why I moved her.
I'm giving a massive shout out to Wade for putting this on auction last night because it is awesome.
Wade to go. That's it. I promise.
Oh my God.
Awful.
Oh man.
Awful. Okay. Anybody else got any rants or raves before?
Nah, I think we're good.
All right. Well, then it is time for
The permitted minute.
The permitted minute.
the permitted minute, and it is the first time in Everything is Permitted history that we have 10 items on the permitted minute. Now, we do have 2 guests, and normally with guest spots, I would ask if they wanted to do the permitted minute gauntlet. But I found to be that if we have 10 subjects, and the way that we have the 2 people that are on the gauntlet Hall of Fame and their times, that it would be very fair to make one of our guests do a 10 spot permitted minute. So next time you come on the show, you can. But we're going to try and do this 10 spot permitted minute. It's going to be a fun one.
I think we can do it. It's gonna
I
be
don't
tough,
because
but
we didn't even get it last week. So,
Well, you got to read quickly, Julian. That's the name of the game.
you know what? Fuck yourself. All right, guys, we are going to go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Jada, start the clock.
Coming as a bit of a shock in a console release year, Sony once again announced it will be skipping this year's E3 conference. Sticking in the gaming world, Square Enix has delayed the Final Fantasy VII Remake, pushing it back to April, also delayed the upcoming Avengers game to September, also being delayed until September, Cyberpunk 2077.
In the tabletop gaming world, after massive layoffs at Fantasy Flight Games, the company earlier this week announced that it will no longer be producing Star Wars Destiny, that its upcoming Covert Missions expansion will be its last.
2 big pieces of news coming out of the No Time to Die camp. Billie Eilish has written and will sing the title track for Daniel Craig's final James Bond film, the youngest artist ever to do so.
It was also announced that Hans Zimmer would be writing the score for No Time to Die, a first for the decorated composer, taking over for Dan Romer, who was originally hired for the job.
John Williams received his 52nd Oscar nomination for his work on Rise of Skywalker, second only to Walt Disney himself with 59. The CW has officially ordered the series the in-development Superman and Lois show, which takes place in the DC Arrowverse.
Amazon officially announced the full cast for its upcoming live-action Lord of the Rings series. And after just 1 season, Watchmen is seemingly dead over at HBO, with showrunner Damien Lindelof parting ways with the show.
20th century.
That is
Damn you.
it. We
You
missed
fumbled,
by one.
Julian.
I did not fumble.
You did.
Anyway, read the last one.
20th Century Fox Searchlight Pictures, not anymore. Disney has officially changed the names of those 2 studios, dropping the Fox out of both names. Say hello to 20th Century Studios and Searchlight Pictures.
What the fox?
Time is a luxury you don't have.
That was pretty good,
Jesus.
though. We made 9. And
Even
I
if
feel
we
like we
made
could've shortened
9 and
something.
had I not even said anything at the end, we wouldn't have gotten it with how long that last one is.
I think all the games delayed to...
Well, yeah,
September, we
it's like,
probably
dude, on
could've,
Tuesday, by Tuesday, we already had 8 items on the permitted minute.
I like the game delay thing still like blows my mind because my March April time frame went from like, oh man, how am I gonna play all these games to nothing is coming out anymore.
No. I mean, I know that you guys were more excited about than I am, but I know a lot of people are pissed off that Cyberpunk has been delayed. And I know that there was a lot of controversy around like the Avengers game not looking as good as it should be. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing. But Matt, you also brought up the good point before we started recording, something that we've talked about on the show multiple times, that it's what's CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt Red is the
that
company.
they are still going to have a massive crunch going all the way into September.
They basically have already said like, oh yeah, we're crunching hard, and they like made no bones about it. Like, yeah, people are working long hours. That's just the nature of this business, and it's like,
Yeah,
Jesus,
but
man.
It was the nature of the business. They should find ways. I mean, we could do a whole another episode.
Yeah, I
on
know.
that,
I
but-
mean, it's like I would be content waiting until 2021 for the game if people could have like worthwhile lives that work on the game. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's why I'm fine with delays as well, as long as they're not overworking their employees.
Unfortunately, they still are.
Video game
they always
fans
do.
can be rather fickle, though.
Yeah,
No, they absolutely.
Oh, people
absolutely.
there's been some terrible people have already said like I want the game. I don't give a shit about the people working on it. So
I mean, I want to point out No Man's Sky and like, you know, how much hype there was before it launched, and then the crap show that it was after it launched, and now how much hype there is like years after the game that people are like loving it. And
Star Wars Battlefront.
right, it's
Yep.
mercurial at best.
Yeah.
By the way, is that 3 per minute fails in a row?
Thought it was only 2.
Or did
yeah,
we
I think
get-
we're at 2.
We're at 2. Okay.
We're at
and
2
I don't
because
think
I remember
it was in a row.
because I remember Ricardo Montalban. I'd never heard that sound bite before a couple weeks ago, and I was like, how long have you had
I
that?
think
for a
we've
very
had
long
3
time.
total on the show,
Yeah.
but not too many in a row.
All right, guys, before we get to the big Raiders of the Bargain Bin Cats review, let's get some odds and ends done. And this odds and ends will be a special edition, along with all the other crazy news that came out last week. The official Oscar ballot also hit. And for, unlike last year, Matt, this was before Brittany, joined us. We've seen a lot of these films on here, so we have a little bit more knowledge. We won't go through every one of these.
No, we won't.
Maybe we'll. I don't know. We'll see. We'll take it by ear. Obviously, we'll start. We'll start at the bottom. You know what? Why not? Best visual effects. We have Avengers. We have The Irishman.
How the hell is that in best visual effects?
Because of Robert De Niro being de-aged, and the de-aging wasn't even that good.
Okay.
The Lion King, which also wasn't very good, if we're being honest. 1917, which was fucking spectacular.
It's gonna be Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. Though.
It almost never wins the visual effects.
I think it will this time because it's the last of the big Star Wars movies, so on, quote unquote. So
I'm more surprised that Cats and Dr. Sleep were on here. Dr. Sleep because it was actually good, and then Cats because it was so bad.
But the cat CG was so
up
fucking
for
awful.
the Razzie Award.
It was
That's
so
the
bad.
joke.
We'll skip sound mixing. We'll sound editing for 1917. I just want to put that out there because like that movie made me jump because like of the action being so far few in between. That I loved
Yeah,
how
it
they
should
did
be
that.
in there for sure.
But also Star Wars, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Joker, and Ford vs. Ferrari, which if you're dealing with cars, you have to have good sound editing. That was a great movie too. Won't do best short. Do best short animated.
want to do best original score.
Well, best production design.
Okay.
The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, which I know that we all want to see. 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and a movie that I know Brittany wants to see, Parasite. Just because I mean, I've seen The Irishman, and yeah, sure, it's like, you know, they did shit in the past. Like, that's what all these production design things are. 1917, they recreated World War I beautifully. I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit for the World War II stuff, so I'm not entirely sure. But
And I still have yet to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I do want to watch that.
I own it and still haven't watched it.
We'll skip Best Original Song because you know Frozen's going to win that.
Because Julian
anyway.
will start singing.
I will. I'll start singing Into the Unknown. Best original score is for Joker, which I know we talked about after the review, like was a very haunting score. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Hildur.
It's a woman, so
This woman's
all.
name. I'm really sorry.
I'm going to butcher their name and gender.
yeah.
Hildur
Daughter.
Thank you.
We'll just say that.
We'll do that. Alexander Desplat, who famously got fired from doing the Rogue One score for Little Women. Randy Newman for Marriage Story, which was a great film. Thomas Newman for 1917, a brilliant score, which I own. And John Williams. Now, I'm very happy that John Williams got nominated. I'm not thrilled that he got nominated for the Rise of Skywalker score, which I think is probably
like the
the
weakest.
worst Star Wars
Do you
score
think,
that there's
here's the
been.
question, do you think he's going to get it because he's essentially retiring and we have to be honest, John Williams has less time left alive than not?
I hope not. Is that really fucked up to say? Like, I hope not. Because I really want Thomas Newman to win it.
I don't know,
I
man.
think I'm still siding with Joker on this one.
It was
like, for
that
the
was
score.
really good. And didn't she won the Golden Globe, didn't she?
Yes, I
believe so.
think she did.
I think she did.
I think she even used like a new instrument, right, Kevin? Didn't she like do something? She like created a new instrument for it.
She helped pioneer a new instrument for the soundtrack.
Awesome. That's pretty legit.
They also played the score on set during the
Bathroom
bathroom dancing scene.
Oh,
And it actually shaped how he moved throughout it.
nice.
Yeah, Kevin
That's-
knows all the Joker fun facts.
We did see that together.
We did.
Best
And I
makeup
saw
we'll
it like
skip.
6 more times.
I saw people on Facebook trashing that movie the other night. I'm just like,
What movie was it again?
Joker.
Because they probably watched it on Netflix when they got home and they didn't experience it in a theater. Like it should have been.
Yeah, like Martin Scorsese says about The Irishman. I was happy watching that on my couch. We'll skip this international film. Film. Do we want to talk about film editing? No. We'll skip best documentary feature.
Cinematography.
Let's get to that. The Irishman, which is just gonna get nominated for fucking everything. Joker for us, which is Lawrence Sher. The Lighthouse, which you just watched.
Yes.
Jaron Blish, whatever. Thank you. Thanks. 1917, Roger Deakins, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Robert Richardson.
It has to go to 1917.
It has to
like,
go to 1917.
Lighthouse had fantastic design and ambiance to it, but
I've only heard good things about Lighthouse.
yeah, it's a decent movie, but the plot is like you're just like, what? It's several parts, and I know some people like that. Like I don't always care for it if it's not done right, which I feel Lighthouse kind of dropped the ball a little bit. But.
Yeah. Okay, this is actually something that's on my shit list here.
Oh, God, here we go.
Okay, best animated feature. We have How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, which we both thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes.
I Lost My Body, which I've never heard of. Klaus, Missing Link, which I do really want to see, and Toy Story 4. Where the fuck is Frozen 2? Like, really, where is Frozen 2? Because Frozen 2, hold on, I'm mad.
Jesus Christ.
Listen, Toy Story 4, it's just fine. 1, it wasn't necessary. Toy Story 3 was just fine. 2, Frozen 2 is better than Toy Story 4. Period. End of story. Where is it?
Maybe Disney met their quota for nominations.
I mean, yeah, they're like, yeah, I don't know. You were
No
going to
matter
say
what,
something,
they're
and I rudely interrupted you.
No, I'm going to say Missing Link won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature, and I am so freaking happy because I'm tired of Disney always winning this shit.
You know what's not on here that was going to get nominated? I think it got nominated for the Golden Globe. The Lion King. Thank God that's not on there for Best Animated Film because it was for Golden Globes. It wasn't an animated film. It was CG, but it was CG live action.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to watch any of Disney's live action, quote unquote, remakes of any of their movies. I'm not rewarding this behavior, even though not like it matters.
I am not rewarding this
Well,
behavior.
I'm personally surprised, but not all too shocked that they gave Frozen the cold shoulder.
Shut up, Wesley.
Yes. I'm fine with being the
You really
Wesley.
wanted that.
I'm fine with being the Wesley.
Oh, God.
I earned it.
Let's see. Best supporting actress I'll talk about real quick because I liked Margot Robbie in Bombshell, and I thought Laura Dern for playing a really bitchy lawyer in Marriage Story was
Jurassic
really
Park
good.
Mom?
Yeah, Jurassic Park Mom, Admiral Haldo.
Jesus.
Best actress Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, Saoirse Ronan for
Saoirse
Little
Ronan.
Thank you. Charlize Theron for Bombshell and Renee Zellweger for Judy. I guess she plays Judy Garland, right? I know. I butcher all the names. That's why I
No,
got
you're
you
fine.
guys co-hosting with me.
Hey, how do you know she's not Judge Judy?
That would be a movie.
Dame Judi Dench.
I'd watch that. Oh, no.
Yes, that's what I want. Somebody screaming at somebody for like 2 hours.
I'm going to say that Scarlett Johansson
that's
gets
Marriage
it for
Story.
Marriage Story.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's actually a good point. Best supporting actor, Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which I'm still dying to see. Anthony Hopkins, who I didn't even know was still acting in The Two Popes. Al Pacino, which out of all the Irishman nominees, not Al Pacino, but Joe Pesci's next on the list. I'm happy that he got nominated because he was fantastic in The Irishman. And then Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Best actor.
It's going to be Joaquin Phoenix. Just don't even bother reading anybody else.
Don't read anybody else's
You know
name.
full well it's going to be Joaquin Phoenix. I don't care how good you say anybody else is.
I'm just going to say one other name. And
Don't you dare say Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. Adam Driver for Marriage Story because it's not like he had anything to do with fucking J.J. Abrams.
Dude, I'm kidding. I just knew you were going to say that.
You were
I
gonna
have
set me off.
nothing against Adam Driver.
I would say
Only
it's
Kylo
between
Ren.
Adam Driver and Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. So, yeah. Okay.
Yep, and Joaquin's just going to walking on up there and grab his award.
She's on a roll today. Got to give it to her.
I'm not giving her any satisfaction for that.
Not even a drum roll?
No, nothing. I refuse. We won't do screenplays.
Sound, but
I could.
Sometimes you can tell he's like, how do I want to shame her? Shit.
Best director, Martin Scorsese, go fuck himself for The Irishman. Todd Phillips for The Joker. 1917, Sam Mendes, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino, and Bong Joon-ho for
I actually think
Parasite.
director is probably going to be the most competitive category.
I think it's between Todd Phillips and Sam Mendes. Yeah.
I think it's between Bong Joon-ho and Sam Mendes.
I haven't seen
probably.
Parasite, so I have to kind of base it off of what I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like it's criminal if Todd Phillips or Sam Mendes don't win. Like if either one of those two win, the Oscar is well deserved. And then finally, Best Picture, we have Ford vs. Ferrari, which was awesome. The Irishman, which was too long. Jojo Rabbit, which we want to see. Joker, which is amazing. Little Women, I actually do want to see. Marriage Story was fantastic. 1917, I think, is all of our picks for Best Picture. No?
I don't know. It's between that and Joker.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know for sure. I wouldn't say it would sweep.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be between those two, in my opinion.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Parasite. Before we get into our next segment, I just want to talk about, because Matt, you bought the movie, and I am a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. And Bill, I don't know how much you're into Tarantino either. I kind of maybe want to get your thoughts on this. I didn't see that much positivity surrounding Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is this just Hollywood sucking Tarantino's dick? Like,
I mean, Tarantino, like I've watched reviews of it, and there's two guys, Red Letter Media, who do reviews that I really like, and I do agree with them on a lot of movies. Is they said that Quentin Tarantino is like one of the few dying breed of directors that actually make original, interesting ideas, and they said he did it with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They said he has a style, he has a way of doing movies that no other director does, and I mean, Quentin Tarantino deserves all the love that he can possibly get. So
Yeah, to roll off what Matt just said, I've heard Brad Pitt say the same thing about Tarantino's style. It's almost Shakespearean in when you're reading those scripts. And I mean, as far as positivity goes in the movie, I mean, I thought it had a certain comedic value to it where, certainly it wasn't intended as a comedy, but it had this, and certain Tarantino movies have that, like Pulp Fiction, like even though they, dudes are getting shot up and stuff like that,
it's hilarious.
It had you're relaxed kind of watching it, and you know that it's a story at the same time. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's one of Tarantino's best, but it was an enjoyable movie. It was cool to see the 60s and stuff like that in that period. And
do you think it deserves all of these nominations?
There's a few that stand out.
Okay. We have to watch it before the Oscars, for sure.
I mean,
we should.
It has that indie feel kind of to it, so I feel like it might, scoop up some of the, I think it might be a lock for, some of those,
the smaller ones.
Some of the middle categories, things like that. So,
well, the Oscars are coming up. We have to figure out how we're gonna do that, because
we got time.
We're gonna we'll get to you guys about how we're gonna figure out the Oscars, because we record on Sunday and the Oscars are always stupidly on a Sunday. So we'll figure that all out. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is going to be that time for cats. Meow 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 meow.
Wow.
He's doing the awkward.
I'm doing
like,
the awkward.
What the
they had
hell
human
was
hands.
that?
They had human hands, but not clap with their hands. So they
God.
patted the floor and meowed. And shook
Please
their
stop!
tails.
The movie's coming back to me. You guys need to
You're in
stop
for a
right now.
treat.
That is unfortunately coming up when we come back. Stick around.
Jellicles cat, Angelicals do. Jellicles do, Angelicals cat. Jellicles cat, Angelicals do. Jellicles do, Angelicals cat. Jellicles cat, Angelicals.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We are joined by our very special guest, our friend, Rob Migliaccio. Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Well, I think you know how well we all are. And with that, it is the return of...
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
The Raiders of the Bargain Bin.
The Raiders of the Bargain Bin. And oh boy, is it a goodie.
I won't even say the title of the movie we saw first, because
You just want to see if they'll figure it out.
I said this to Julian on the way over here, and so like one of those like standard like myths in history is that the guy who invented the guillotine was like did it for good reasons, but then was horrified as to what it became. That's what Raiders of the Bargain Bin has become to me. Like I'm like horrified at what we've now been reduced to. So I mean, Julian, if you'd like to tell the title of what we just saw, by all means.
You know, while we were driving over here and as we were getting ready to start recording, I had to make the decision, and you guys won't be able to hear it here, but I'm just going to introduce the movie with a little bit of music.
Can I just say that I have the last picture in existence of you guys before you saw this film? When I pulled up next to you in the car and you didn't see me yet, so I took a picture.
And if you haven't figured it out yet, buy the music.
You can mark your life as pre and post seeing this film.
The movie is Cats. Memories. I don't know the rest of the words.
Oh my God.
This will go down more than likely as the most controversial episode of Raiders of the Bargain Bin ever. Would we all agree?
It's
controversial.
I think the most controversial film of the century.
Controversial in the fact that we went to the movie theater for a bargain bin movie.
See, technically, because it didn't cost more than $10 per person, so
it was a matinee.
It was a bargain, just not from the bin.
And plus, you and me have the
A-list, so we just paid out of it our monthly fee there.
We owed Rob a movie, and man, did he deliver.
This isn't even Rob's movie.
This isn't Rob's
movie.
He just came along.
Rob was just like, he's been saying, like,
bro.
let's do Cats. And I was like...
You said originally you were going to dress up.
I didn't say we were going to dress up. I said I was going to get us all cat ears, and I failed in my mission. I
It's probably
failed
for the
in my
best, because I would have felt so weird. I would have taken them off halfway
But
through the film.
that woman in front of us would have appreciated
I would have
it.
given her the cat ears.
Before we get
Bless
started,
that woman. She was
For-
like, why are you here?
Before we get started, Brittany's absolutely right. I just want to take the time and mention the fact that for about 48 hours, we thought that we were going to be the only 4 people in the theater.
Because for 48 hours, we were
We
the
were,
only ones
yes.
that bought tickets.
And then as we were walking
Some
in,
last
I
minute.
looked in on the app and I was like, guys, we are not alone.
Yeah. There was like 15 people in that theater.
There were 15 people
and
in the theater.
unfortunately, some hardcore fans.
The one woman in front of us was so hardcore, dancing and singing along with every word, and she told us to shush a couple times. She straight up got out of her seat about 2/3 through the movie and went up and she like yelled at 2 girls who weren't even talking. Like they were like just
They
snickering.
laughed
Yeah, but
loudly.
who doesn't laugh loudly
I
during
know.
Cats?
I was laughing my ass off. I'm
I know.
surprised I didn't get yelled
I
at.
know.
Like, serious.
It did make it, like, I wish it would have just been us, because we would have, like, Mystery Science Theater.
We would have had
the shit out
so
of
much more fun with this movie, I think, if it had been just us in that theater.
I mean, I can understand where she was coming from, just being like, it was getting to, so she went just as memory was coming on.
Which, okay,
You know.
to be fair,
Yeah,
like
that was, everybody
climactic.
was silent.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't
Jen
know
Brunson
the
killed it.
freaking musical, you at least know memory. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
just-
that's all I knew. I knew like that and like some weird cat orgy that happens, and I was
Oh
like,
my
wow,
God.
this makes no sense.
Most of this
catnip.
movie is
The
a cat
catnip.
orgy, so
There's a lot of like
But
hip stuff going on.
I have to assume at least that was her like 3rd or 4th time
I
seeing
hope
the
so,
movie.
because if that was her first, I'm like, why?
I'm like, why did you wait so long? And if you're like this hardcore about it, like you'd be like me and you go see it opening night. I didn't see Cats opening night. Disclaimer.
if you're as hardcore fan as I am,
did.
No, we know where you were on when Cats opened. It was Star Wars.
Exactly.
It
I
opened
wanna-
the same day.
I want to preface this and tell the audience that this movie will make you feel better about the Cat in the Hat movie that happened. Like, that was unsettling, a man in a cat costume. This is even more unsettling.
I would prefer that.
Yeah, at least you knew that was all a costume, even his face. This one, it's like,
We're gonna get
couldn't decide.
yeah,
deep
we're
Yeah, we'll
let's,
go-
let's
into
get there.
all of the wrong about Cats. As always, before we go into our thoughts, we give the Rotten Tomatoes score. And guys, this is actually the tiniest bit of a shock here. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critic consensus is 21%.
well, it's
What?
moved up from originally.
It did. It was at like 17 for a while. I think it started at
Yeah,
6.
it started very low.
This is what I don't understand.
The audience
I
score?
can see the audience
Oh,
score
I
out of
know
the corner of my
exactly
eye,
why.
and I'm
It's
not.
still not high, but it's 53%.
Oh, it dropped.
Oh, oh God.
It was higher at one point in time.
Well, people like the woman in front of us are like, it was a great movie, and like
It's a
rated
great
fresh or whatever.
adaptation of this stage.
Matt
thing
at
that
one
should be a
point
musical.
goes, you know, when they're about to start singing a song, he's like, please don't sing. And she turns
Yeah.
over and looks at him like, it's a musical.
And I actually said to her, like, I know.
There were too many. I've
There
never
was-
said that for a musical before. They were either too long or too many.
There was no speaking. Like, I couldn't follow the plot because
And a lot of musicals save a lot of room for actual dialogue and not all singing. Now, Matt, I know that you really, really, really want to go first, but we have a guest.
No, that's
Rob
fine.
is here to join us.
Rob's
so
robbing you
so
of that
Rob,
opportunity.
yeah, oh,
Shut up, Wesley.
I love it.
I was waiting. I was
so
waiting. Rob, your initial thoughts on this catastrophe?
wow.
Great, now he's in misery.
I wanted to claw my eyes out.
That's
This is
3
great.
months in a row. But this has got us going, guys. Hold on. We got something for that. We got this.
Mother of God.
Sorry, continue.
Oh boy, it was just. I really, 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 really wanted it to be fair and going in and not reading any reviews, seeing anything. But God, there is just no helping seeing the reviews and people's reactions and the memes beforehand of this horrible, horrible
I can't
movie.
wait to now relate to the memes. When Brie Larson tweeted just cats in all caps, I'm like, now I get it. She saw it and was like, what is this?
Rob, I don't know. You know, you were watching the movie intently, albeit with the movie theater 3D glasses on. So I don't know how that went for you, even though it wasn't a 3D
made it
movie.
better now.
It just made the cat boobs pop out a little more.
But
I felt like Judi Dench was just talking to me at the end.
Well, she was talking to all of us for like 10 minutes.
She was the Deadpool of this this movie.
But I do want to ask you, you were watching the movie intently, but I felt like you were almost laughing at my reaction to the movie more than the actual movie
It
itself.
was both. It really was both. I mean, if you've never seen a movie with Julian, and if it's a bad movie, oh my God, he just writhles in pain.
You can feel every time he wants to point out something's wrong because he'll start to shift in his seat and you know he wants to reach his hand out and be like,
I think
Look at this.
you're saying during the mice and the cockroach scene, like was it Jenny Any Dots or something like that?
Yeah.
Her song with Rebel
Fucking
Wilson.
Rebel
Wilson and her highly suggestive poses. Yes.
Oh God.
Like
Yeah.
it was just like if I
He was going
wasn't
all V
sitting
for
behind,
victory.
if I wasn't sitting next to him, he probably would have ran out of the theater.
That's probably a good point. Like, especially like had
He
you
was
guys
trapped.
not been there, like the cockroach
if he
scene,
was
I
alone
might have
and
walked out
A-listing, he would have been gone.
I'm like, I'm looking at this fucking naked Chewbacca down in the basement of Wade's right now, and all I can think of is cats. And Brittany's gonna take a picture of it, I think, so we have a reference for you all to see.
The funny thing about this movie as well is the fact that at 2 separate points of the movie, like I was sitting in the middle between Brittany and Julian, I was grabbed by both of them at different parts of the movie. Where like early on, Brittany's grabbed me like, I want to leave, I want to get out of here. And Julian, I think, grabbed me at the cockroach scene because I'm just sitting there like, what is happening right now?
I've never done that in a movie before. I didn't mean to even touch
No,
you.
it
I
was just funny because I'm just like, all right, I understand where
It was
she's coming
legit, like,
from.
30 seconds in the film after it panned down from the moon, and then the weird music started, and like they started crawling all these weird ways. I was like, "Get me the fuck out of this theater!"
And she freaking Rebel Wilson took off her fur freaking twice.
Yo, that
that shit
unzipping,
was
baby.
was a
I feel like this
inception.
movie is a different thing if you watch it sober versus not. Like, maybe that's a challenge.
Maybe the lady in front of us had some
Brittany,
brownies.
keep going. Your initial thoughts,
Okay.
if any coherent ones exist for
Okay,
cats.
I'll say the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie were extremely anxiety inducing for me. Like, I was like sweating and I was like, what is happening with this plot? And I went in, I didn't know anything about the musical other than like, I know that like my grandparents had the musical on like DVD or something. And I was like, oh, cool, it's about cats or something. And then like I've heard weird things from other people and I've just seen memes. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. And man, was I, just like Matt, had no clue what was going on half the time. The first time someone got poofed away, I was like, did they just get murdered? I was like legitimately asking because I had no clue. Oh man. It's a lot.
It's a lot to take
It's a
in.
lot to take in, and I don't even know what to point out first, but like it was wild. It was an experience.
Can we just say the actors were trying their
The actors
asses
really
off?
did.
They were
That's
trying
the
their
one thing I do want to
best.
say.
I don't know what movie you guys watched,
No,
man.
no.
I thought the whole thing was just phoned in.
But like think
legit.
of the legit dancing and effort and choreography
Well,
that
yeah.
went into it, and like a lot of the actors, Jennifer Hudson I'm sorry.
Maybe the
she
only one
deserved
who took the
some-
movie
she took this
seriously.
her role seriously, and like really sold it. I was like, damn, girl, I'm feeling it too. Come on. When she built it up, memory, that like reprise.
We've been through enough already.
When she built it up, the reprise, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, sat back in my seat a little bit. I will say that the film made me get a headache from the sheer amount of squinting I did, because I was literally watched the whole thing with a furrowed brow because I was confused or concerned. So the whole film I like looked like this, I think, the entire time, like I was constipated or something. Oh man. Some of the cats wore clothes, some didn't. Some had shoes, some didn't.
Yeah, like some had
it threw me off. And I
some
was
of
like,
their cufflinks were flickering from bad CGI.
the bad guy took off his hat and jacket and became like
Please
less
don't.
spooky.
Please don't.
And he looks like this Chewbacca. And as soon as he did, like, God bless Idris Elba, but as soon as he like took off his jacket and stuff, I was just like, why did they do this? I feel so
The
weird.
minute that he wasn't in his costume anymore, he lost any like the smallest
scary
bit
at
of
all.
credibility he'd had during this movie, which was not a lot to begin with.
I almost
He tried, though.
I almost shrieked like a 50s horror victim, like "Ah!" Like as soon as Idris Elba was out of his jacket and hat,
Dude, it was so
like and he
creepy. It was
hopped
uncanny
down, and he
valley.
was
It
like
was
in his
uncomfortable.
full glory. I almost shrieked like a woman seeing a mouse. Like
Matt.
oh my god,
Matt, keep going. Your
We're
initial.
all gonna keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean this.
kid mouse in there?
So
I tried to keep it to initial.
I know some people are like seeing this movie on drugs, and I envy you all if that is how you're going to experience Cats for the first time, because I truly wish I was with you all at that moment, because I don't know, like I understand. Like, yes, the woman said to me, "It's a musical," and yes, madam, you are very much right. But there is a place for non-singing dialogue. I think there was maybe an entire page of you can't see it, but Brittany's putting this naked Chewbacca at me. But there was like, I think like almost all of the regular speaking dialogue could probably fit on one page in this movie.
There was like
The rest of it was all singing.
Most of it was to sum up whatever the song just was. So then the main character was like, "Oh, so what about this cat?" And they're like, "It's exactly what you think." And I was like, I was trying to figure out what the lyrics were saying half the time.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, much like Brittany, I had no experience with the musical. I've never seen it. My only experience with Cats, as I told Julie on the way over here, was a commercial for the musical that I can still remember to this day from the 90s that was on TV. I don't know why.
And this was even more of a fever dream than that commercial.
Yeah, so Julian, how about your first thoughts?
Just the first thoughts, not the last.
First
'cause
of
we know
all,
your last thoughts.
let's talk about the Rebel Wilson scene, okay?
Which
I don't want
one?
to.
Yeah.
Which
Unfortunately,
part?
we have to. The first word, she's like scratching her inner thighs, but there's nothing, there, and it's just very awkward, but very like
And she's laying like
provoking
spread eagle
and,
and everything.
like,
there was a lot of
and
provocative
it was
cat
just so
stuff.
disturbing.
Judi
and
Dench's
all
leg
I
lift.
could think about when we were watching that part of the movie was
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Thank God she wasn't thinking of any children.
thank God. And then that whole scene just ruined my life because one, I have a legitimate cockroach phobia. I had one crawl in my ear as a kid. They had to vacuum it out. I don't do roaches. And the first thing that happened was there were the mice with the faces. And I went to Matt and I was like, "Matt, what did you put in my Coke?" And then the cockroaches came, and that's when I grabbed Matt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I put my hat over my face because I don't do roaches and I didn't need to have roaches with fucking faces.
It was
worst-
a very long scene too.
The
Very
wor-
long song.
The worst part about that entire scene was I predicted it, but not in the way where I was like, this is going to happen, because I actually said to, I think both of you at some point, is I'm confused about how this world works. Are there like bugs that have faces?
Yeah.
Are there this that have faces? And then sure enough, within 5 freaking minutes, the cockroaches showed up. The mice showed up, all with human faces. Like the cockroaches were like the Rocketeers or something like that, with their kicks and all that crap. Oh my God.
I was going to say, speaking of a world that doesn't make sense, the height of the cats just got me the whole film. Sometimes they were like, when they were on the train rails, they were like 6 inches tall. Other times they're like big enough to be sitting on this chair by themselves. And like, what size were they? Were they supposed to be like normal house pet cats? Are Jellicle cats different? What the fuck is a Jellicle cat?
What the fuck is Jellicle Cat? Rob, what else? I can't.
I want to do a drinking game of how many times they say cats in this damn film.
Or just the word Jellicle, really.
That's the only way you
Yeah,
can
the
friggin'
Jellicle. You'll
Everybody
not.
would be in the hospital by the end of the first song.
You would be drunk like 40 minutes into the
And
movie.
that's how you enjoy the film.
You know what the most shocking part of this was? that Jason Derulo didn't start his song with Jason Derulo. He threw in some of his signature dance moves, though.
And his signature, yeah.
I love how they made fun of his high notes. I was like, did Rebel Wilson like just throw that in there as like a dig at him?
I want to know I'm trying to think at the freaking when they decided to choose after
the Jellicle choice.
The Jellicle choice. When they decided to choose Jennifer Hudson, whatever.
Yeah, I have no clue what her character's name is.
Yeah.
She cool though.
The one with the raggy clothes.
Yes.
We'll call her Memory.
Jennifer Hudson was Grisabella the Glamour Cat.
Oh yeah.
That's so easy to remember.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, all these names are easy to remember, and I can't wait to read some of them.
Rob, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
What about the cats that are on the barge? It's like Rebel Wilson.
You're right.
Yeah, James McAvoy.
James Corden. James McAvoy. A Brit that could have been in this movie.
They did get back by the end, apparently.
They somehow made it back, and
just for the ending.
I would have been like, bitch, what the hell? I wanted to go to the heavy side. Like, you didn't.
I think after that movie, we all wanted to go to the heavy side.
Pretty much.
Can we just like point out the fact what I thought was like the whole like they would be reborn rather didn't happen. Instead, like Jennifer Hudson was put in a goddamn hot air balloon and sent off to
which
wherever
just kept going,
and vanished into the clouds. And I even said, I'm like, she's dead. Like she's not going to survive this. Oh my God.
I don't know enough about the lore, and you guys know.
Is there lore?
Cat's lore.
Can somebody who knows cats please give me lore?
So there actually is a Wikipedia page about Jellicle cats. Go ahead. You go ahead and you read that.
Guys, let's talk about the CGI of this movie,
which
because
was not formidable at all.
As we know, this movie made history. Yes, cats made history, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
This is no joke, because it got DLC. It got downloadable content.
Yes, they tried to patch. Ours was not patched.
I don't believe ours was patched.
It's still not a patch.
No, not all of it. No.
If that's a patch, shame on you, Universal. Shame on you, because that was some shit. Rob, we'll go in a circle here again. Rob, what were some of the horrible CG things that you noticed?
I know you noticed at the same time. Dame Judi Dench freaking had her wedding ring on. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then you were saying the cat's feet were like I
mean, they're basically people.
Yeah, no, right. It was just the hands.
Yeah,
and
the
whatnot.
hands and
it was
feet.
Just like
Weird.
When you see like the Cats musical, you get it. It's it's people dressed up as cats and whatnot. This was just interesting. Like it was just like I don't know. I just felt uncomfortable.
The CG. There's a lot to be said or not said with the CG, but like Taylor Swift's cat character, I pointed this out to you guys. Why were her boobs bigger than the other cats? There was no reason. In real life, she does not have
as big as Rebel Wilson's. We needed to sexualize
right?
Taylor
The thing is,
Swift.
some people's bodies you can tell were proportional to their actual bodies, but then like there were just weird, like, and there were some moments where like just things were off and like changing about people's bodies. So I'm like, is this the point where they're actually wearing a suit and then sometimes they're CGing on top and then like making it slightly different? Because there are some moments that when they're walking, you're like, oh, that looks physical, and then another time you're like, that's a CG body. There was too much back and forth, and then the hands and the not hands and the seams and the not seams.
I want to touch the about the boobs with you here real quick.
Oh,
I don't want to touch the boobs either. But we have to talk about it a little more, especially especially with Taylor Swift's boobs, because listen, most of all the cats, even the girl cats, were flat chested.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, except again Rebel Wilson, then comes Taylor Swift with boobs. But then not only does she have boobs, but at one point, and it's only literally one part, there's a straight up nipple sticking out. Not like, it's coming through the suit. And it's like,
it's like weird. It's like angled, and you're like, what
again,
is happening?
like they forgot to CG it.
Because Julie and I have an eye for like CG mistakes and cinematography.
Yes.
There was no cinematography in this film, so we had to focus on the CG.
and like it was there 1 minute and then it was gone. It was like when Rachel poked out in every single episode of Friends. That was such a mess. And then Matt, I'll go to you.
I have no idea what's going on.
Anyway, my name is Brittany and I approve this boob message.
Yeah, I mean, like as for the CG, I can already only agree with what all of you have been saying, but I honestly, it's also the whole. Like the fact is that this movie, like it's in terms of its consistency, like Idris Elba's character seems like he has magical powers. He can make himself and other cats
Well,
vanish into thin air, and it's
He's
like
a magic cat.
Yeah, I know. He's a magic cat, and it's funny.
Look at my magic hat.
Because this whole thing as well is that like he's just like, oh yeah, I want to be chosen to be reborn and everything. Like, dude, you're already like the most powerful cat in this area. Like, what could you possibly need from anybody else?
He also had cool eyes again.
Yeah,
Like
Idris Elba's always got cool eyes, whatever movie he's in.
I'm not gonna lie though, when Idris Elba vanished, all I could think of was, "Oh, Father, let the power flow through me one more time."
But I'm not kidding. We talked about it earlier. When he lost his costume and all of a sudden he's just naked Idris Elba cat. That's the shit that like is nightmare fuel.
Didn't I literally say, "Oh my God, he's naked"? Right? Because you're so used to some of them wearing their coats because they're like, "Oh, they're shabby."
And Rob, didn't I like cover my face? I was like, "That's nightmare fuel."
Multiple times.
Finally, the last part of CG, everything was wrong with Judi Dench. 1 minute she's old faced, 1 minute she's de-aged, the other she's old
She's like
faced
pasted
again.
with stuff on her face.
And then for half the movie, it looks like she's wearing a fur coat, and you could see like inside of her sleeves because they didn't CG it out. And then when poor Ian McKellen.
Oh my God,
we're not even gonna have time to talk
You
about.
know he
poor
lapped
Ian
out of
McKellen.
that milk bowl? That was just him?
Yeah.
That wasn't even scripted.
Ian McKellen was just doing shit around set, and there's
Dude,
like, just
he
follow
just
him.
went in it for the Shakespearean moment he got to have. He
Yeah.
was just like, "Look, I can fucking act."
But then during that scene when Judi Dench is being all weird, like laying in there
Dude,
trying to
they
be
were gonna-
sexy, that was
Doing her,
so weird.
when Judi Dench did her leg lift, I
Dude,
almost
that's
cried.
when
Is that
I-
a body double?
It
No
had
way
to be.
that she's that
But
limber.
again, that's when the hands were all of a sudden CG and not old wrinkly Judi Dench hands.
God, be nice.
We're sorry,
No.
We're sorry, Judi Dench, if you ever
And
listen to this.
And then at the end, well, okay, I'm gonna rant a little bit more about the CG. Half the time in this movie, their feet aren't touching the ground.
There was no weight to a lot of the
No.
cats. Even when they jumped.
It's
it
like
was so weird.
There's better game. Their collars didn't move the right way with their bodies. There are better physics in video games. Okay. Finally, at the very end, like, how do you not edit this out when they're all holding their hands up and you see a fucking zipper for the cat suit? Like, come on, man.
I mean, honestly, if I were a CG person on this film and I reached the end like that,
I wouldn't
and
put
I
it
had
on
like
my
2
resume.
days left to crunch, I would have been like,
I don't know if any of
Well,
these actors are going to
I
use this on
can't.
their resume.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to go around one more time and I'm going to ask you, how uncomfortable did Judi Dench breaking the fourth wall make you, Rob?
My God, I'm broken. No, that was just. I mean, I get in the play sense and whatnot.
On Broadway.
That works.
Yeah.
It works when it's just Judi Dench staring you down, dressed as a cat, saying, "Cats are cats, not dogs," and it's just like, okay, yeah, you go, Judy. Bravo.
I even knew to expect that. Not that it was her part, but that there was going to be like a scene where the character stares directly into the camera. And I was still just like, you have to do it multiple times. This is the longest scene ever.
How long did
was
she do
really
that
long.
for?
Probably
Really
a good
long.
5 minutes or so. That's why I popped on the.
They were all
the
committed
3D
to their
glasses. They're
characters.
like, she's talking to me.
There's an old episode, I don't know what movie it was, or Mystery Science Theater, where they were watching this movie and it wouldn't end. And at one point, Tom Servo is just screaming, and like that's literally what I almost started doing in the
This girl behind
theater.
us just walked out. They were like,
That-
after
They
the
started to
first wall
leave.
break, they were
They
like,
started to leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
They left like a couple minutes
Those
early.
poor girls who couldn't help but laugh the entire movie, and they're the ones who get yelled at while we were like talking shit.
Well, we were
an hour and a half
quiet
later.
about it. We would lean over.
You
to
were a
each
little
other.
loud.
Oh no,
my
I was
friend.
laughing my ass off.
I'm so I can't help my deep voice. It carries.
The girls behind us,
They were having a blast, too.
It was just like,
Rob, I'm gonna put you on the spot here because as much as I did want to go see it for this very reason to make fun of it, you really put us on to this.
I feel like Dr. Forrester from Mystery Science Theater. I feel like your experiment today is cats. 2019.
Speaking of that, it is time.
Wait, can I mention one other thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Another thing that made me uncomfortable in this film is the second song, or one of the first songs. I don't know. The one where they're singing about
There
how
were
cat
too
needs-
many.
The cat, exactly. I can't even tell.
Oh
the
my
cat
gosh.
needs 3 names.
Yes.
What sort of fey weird shit was that? Where they're like, you need to have a final name that nobody knows.
But wait, we never
There's
even
more.
found out.
Well, because you're not supposed to know the final name.
Well, that's stupid.
I mean,
And
honestly,
also, Victoria only went by 1 name.
Victoria.
This bitch never even got a second name.
honestly, the only song in this
That's what I'm
movie,
trying to say.
the only song in this movie I actually genuinely liked, as I've said, was Taylor Swift and Idris Elba's little song about
It was
how
good.
he's like a bad. Like I actually understood the lyrics, I understood.
McCavity.
Yes, like McCavity
He was
wasn't
wild.
that. Like I was like, all right,
God.
this is actually a decent song, but like most of them, I was like, what is happening? Who are they singing about? Who's this? What is this?
Yeah.
What are they fucking doing?
McCavity was low key a bop.
Well, that's why I was like wondering, like for James Corden, like they know who McCavity is. I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I
Julie.
believe
the
so.
characters?
Yeah.
But like there's like posters all around, and like it's like he's like lure and whatnot, and he's talking straight to him for a good minute or so, saying, "Yeah, come on over, eat this food," and all that fun stuff. And James
Another
Corden-
really uncomfortable scene, by the way.
And James Corden is a fat cat.
He was
you-
like this
you know?
weird devil.
Yeah, and it was just like you don't you know who this cat is? Like he's dangerous.
Do you know the thing that bothered me most about that whole thing with McCavity was that Ian McKellen is like being praised and lauded by all his kitty friends, and they're meow, meow, meow.
Oh, that was weird.
And
They all
clapping
clapped
and
their
meowing.
human hands.
And then he disappears, and no one fucking knows where he went. And they're just like,
Oh, they know exactly
let's
where
sing-
he went.
Well, yeah, but let's sing another song. Let's sing another happy song, like all is well in the world.
I was
Ian
not
McKellen
prepared.
killed a cat.
You mean Idris Elba killed a cat?
No.
Ian McKellen killed a
Yeah,
cat?
he
remember
pushed
they
him
knocked him
over.
into the
He
river.
scared him over in the river.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
tiger.
Committed
or
murder.
Whatever.
Frau Tiger,
Sorry,
I think was the
Oh, no,
name.
you're good. I was just going to say that I just wasn't prepared. I didn't know that Idris Elba's
I
character.
didn't know.
I didn't know that McCavity just poofs cats away. Every single time I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, that's it.
Matt, I need to, and this will be on future shows from now on, and you get to hear him say it, what I got to hear for the 20-minute ride from the theater. I need you to say the magic words.
Why did we see this?
Yes, why did we see cats? And with that, we are going to get to the world-famous bargain bin meter score, going from yard sale to full price. In between that, you'll have Dollar Store, Walmart, Target, and Best Buy. Rob, as our guest,
A-list.
A-list. As our guest, what is your bargain bin meter score?
7-Eleven at the 7th. level. That's where it is.
I accept that. I
7
accept
out of 9
that.
lives taken.
I totally
Oh
accept
my
that.
God. It's not even worthy of yard sale. Seriously.
Magical Mr. Mistopheles. I would argue full price, but only because I paid no dollars for this film. I don't know how I feel yet. I'm still absorbing it. I had a fucking blast.
It was a great
So it was a
time.
great experience, but the whole time, I'd say this is the most confused I've ever been to a film, and films never confuse me. So it's going to have to be the lowest.
Yard sale?
Yeah, it's going to be...
Garage sale?
Like, I
yard
hope
sale?
I don't see this on TV ever again. If I do, I might just be like, oh my God, is it still
you
as
know,
bad as I
This
remember?
is how you punish people you don't like or
Yeah.
children that are
I
misbehaving.
hope I never see it again. So I'm going to say yard sale.
I'm also going to say yard garage sale. Like the only thing, one of the few positives I can say is I actually did kind of like the setting of like, early 20th
Yeah, it was
century
cool.
London.
Yep.
Like I kind of like the look of that, but literally like, and I said this, I think even after we walked out of the, like one of the neon signs said like, wake up and dream. I literally was almost like, somebody's trying to reach me. I'm trapped in the
Yeah.
matrix right now. And they're like, Matt, you need to wake up, man. And like realize where you're
Weird
at.
cat matrix.
But so, yeah.
For me, if I was at a yard sale and I saw a cat pawing at the movie, I still wouldn't buy it. So yes, yard sale. Maybe in one of the dumpsters that James Gordon's fat cat is pawing through.
James Gordon.
I'm
to
not even
get
a
it.
fan of him to begin with, and this movie made me hate him.
It
made me not like
he's-
him.
Yes.
He's got some funny moments when he does certain things on his show, but no, as an actor, like this movie did not do him any favors. So.
If somebody offered me a role in this film, if they offered, let's do this. If they offered you a role in this film, would you have taken it? Would any of you have?
It's your question. You
Hell
answer first.
fucking yeah, I would have.
Matt.
Brittany pirouetting in the background. Yay!
Brittany doing God's work.
Matt.
Would I take a role in this movie if I knew what it became? How much of a starving actor am I at this point? Like how badly
I don't even have to be starving. I'm like, I'm fucking doing it.
how badly do I need
This
this
is wild.
paycheck? That's my question.
If for me, I'd say one of two things. I'd say pump me up full of that LSD and let's go, or hook me into the Matrix and let's go.
All right, I would
Either one.
I would do this movie if the camera never focused on my face, so I never had to admit I was in it. Like,
There you
yeah,
go.
that dude hopping around back there, that's me.
But just think about it. You're in a movie if you're a major cinephile, you're in a movie with Sir Ian McKellen, Dame Judi Dench, You're like, like that's pretty damn good.
Idris Elba.
I don't know if I'd want to be with them in a movie with them ever again after seeing this.
You have a selfie with all of you.
Would you take the role?
I would take the role, sure.
I love
Why
that
not?
they're so famous they can just do roles like this and it doesn't impact their career at all.
Judi Dench is supposed to be retired. She was supposed to retire after Skyfall.
She was, but same thing with Old Deuteronomy. She was retired and they brought her back for the fucking Jellicle choice, bitch.
This needs to stop.
Oh, God.
This needs to stop.
That's what we said the whole Cats movie.
I know. I kept looking at my watch.
Rob, I want to not thank you for putting this idea in our heads. I want to thank you, though, for coming back on the show. We're going to see you again for our final show of the season, and it is going to be your contributing to our Indiegogo campaign. It is going to be your movie. We take you on a movie date. What are we going to go see?
We are going to go see Birds of Prey.
And the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, which should be a much better movie than this.
I'm impressed you actually remember that whole title.
Because they corrected me during the second annual Golden Gauntlet, so I got it this time.
You're welcome.
Thank God this is over. When we come back, we're going to be taking a step over to the final frontier. It is our best of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Get that Earl Grey tea hot. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show, and it is time for our Picard 101 segment, and I am very, very happy to be joined by our guests. First off, from the Cinescape podcast and Cinescape Media, we have Rowdy Bill Tozzi. Welcome back. It's good to have you back, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys getting me on for the Star Trek countdown here.
We've been talking about doing this for a long time.
We have been, yeah.
So, we're definitely glad to have you. And then Brittany's awesome cousin, Kevin Upper, also a giant Star Trek TNG. I think Star Trek fan all around.
Yeah, like all of the more recent. I'm just trying to slog my way through the originals.
That's fair. That's fair.
They are a hard watch.
Yeah.
The originals do not age.
They're classics, but they are hard. Yeah.
They don't age so well. Thank you for coming on as well. It's glad to have you on for the first time.
Glad to be here.
As I said, this is our big Picard 101 episode. Picard is this week. It's this week. It's coming Thursday, I believe. Thursday. So the way we're going to do this is that we took a list of, I actually took this off a bunch of different lists, put some of my own favorite episodes on here. Bill, I pulled some of these from a friend of yours, your friend Liam's list, which I thought was really good, which is you can find on the Cinescape's website.
Thank you. Yeah, he's out in Japan, and he's a big Star Trek fan, and yeah.
Well, let's get right into it then. The first one on this list is a season. Actually, before we get to that, I just want to say you have to give a quick shout out to the pilot episode of Star Trek TNG, which is
absolutely
Encounter at Farpoint. While not incredibly strong,
space jellyfish.
Space jellyfish.
It was damn beautiful to look at, though.
It was. It really was. But yeah, Bill said it. Space jellyfish, the weird old guy on the planet who was
Roppler Zorn.
Yeah.
Would you like some apples?
Who seemed like very pedo. Like it was.
Right.
It was really weird. We get our first. I think we get our first ever Wesley something in there. I don't think he says "Shut up, Wesley," but we'll do it anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't say "Shut up," but Wesley's there
because it's fun. But oh my God, the pilot did not make it look like this was going to be a very good show. But let's get to it. Let's talk about.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise.
Captain Picard, A Measure of a Man, Season 2, Episode 9. What a great episode.
Amazing episode. Is one I hold very near and dear because it really showcases Picard's empathy and his willingness to connect to any other sentient being and really kind of put himself in someone else's shoes.
It's my all-time favorite Star Trek episode. And y'all know how I feel about robots, so and androids and everything in between. I love how it starts off with them playing poker, and Data's read all these different books about games of chance, and then no matter how much he's read, he doesn't truly understand poker because he hasn't experienced it yet. And the show kind of sets it up to make you feel like, oh, because he's the android of the group, he might not ever get how to play poker, they know that he's easy to take advantage of because he doesn't understand the nuances of it. But then later on, the show builds on that, and it talks about as far as his memories being wiped or taken away or used for, cloning him, that it would just be turned into facts and, this aspect of memory that is your emotions tied to it and what makes the memory important. He realizes after playing poker, he uses that as an example when Maddox, tries to convince him to do this procedure. And he even tells them that, I learned all these things, but in doing so, it didn't help me learn how to play poker other than when I did finally play it. And then I saw that, and they taught me that it's about instinct. So I just love how it opens. I love that whole episode. I love that you even have to see how Riker has to be on trial against him to try and prove that he isn't a person, even though he doesn't believe that himself.
Like an equally amazing performance from Jonathan Frakes in this episode, struggling with the fact that he has to basically go against Data.
Yeah. And as much as it's a Data-centric episode, it very much is about Picard because you see how much he loves and cares for Data and how far he's willing to go for any member of his crew to protect them.
Yeah, you really see Data's impact on the rest of the crew.
For sure. But I love it just in terms of the rules of robotics and then everything from how it could eventually be tantamount to slavery. Fun fact, that episode was actually written by an attorney. So that's the reason why it's so big on, and I'm big on human rights to begin with. I wanted to work for the UN in translation, but it was written by an attorney because they had a writer strike or something at the time. They were just taking all sorts of scripts, and then she was like, "Here you go. This is all about rights." And
and there's the whole thing with that, she's his
rights.
former maybe ex-girlfriend is the JAG officer on that on the
sass.
station.
Definitely have
the
a
sass.
history.
Yeah. They had a history.
If I could throw out an episode that's not on this list that I feel piggybacks this episode is the Drumhead, which it's very similar, as being on trial, but it's Picard on trial at that point. Are you familiar?
Is that the one with the old Admiral
Satie,
and she's it's a witch hunt. It's an absolute witch
She's going
hunt.
after a ensign, an officer with
he's a Romulan ensign who
but he said he has Vulcan ancestry. He lied on his his application.
He was being charged for conspiracy with a Klingon for moving tech off the ship or whatever, and then Picard gets brought in as being it's your ship basically, you're responsible, so they
and then the Admiral, she's just she goes way off course. Right. That is a great episode.
Yeah. Well, she freely admits to Picard that she's this is all I have is
she's
the
very
hunt
impartial.
for,
Yeah.
I am about
No, that's actually a very good honorable mention. I was thinking about that episode and I was like, because she gives a really good performance of taking it
right. You hate her by the end. You're like, this bitch.
And exactly. But anytime an actor makes you feel that way, they've done their job.
Exactly.
I mean, Joffrey.
Yeah.
We're going to stay in season 2 after A Measure of a Man, and we are going to go with a fantastic. This was actually one of my favorite rewatches going through watching these over the past few days in Q Who. It's the episode that we are introduced to the Borg for the first time, and it's Picard's. It's really his first failure.
Yeah, I honestly, some of my favorite Next Generation episodes are Q interacting with Picard, especially this episode, because Q is doing the whole thing of you're going out into unexplored space. I want to come with you. I want to be part of the crew. And Picard basically, tells him to fuck off. And Q just kind of goes, okay, and just snaps his fingers and sends them out
You don't think you need me.
Yeah, I know. And then basically, they discover that even at max warp, we're 2 years away from the closest star base. And then Picard's like, well, we're still going to explore because we've never been out here. And that's when the Borg appear for the first time.
Quick sidebar on that. And how cool is it that they basically, because you said they're 2 years away. And then it's basically 2 seasons later that the Borg do finally show up. They made the time work out.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the Q stands for quest. Or question. That's really all he does. Whether it's a quest or a question involved, he's just is humanity worth it? You tell me.
Q is short for Q.
Are you expanding further? Quest.
Q is really just Star Trek's DM, right?
In a way, yeah. Yeah. Especially by the end when you're it comes full circle. And he's just I've always been watching.
Bill, I don't know what age you started watching Star Trek at.
I can tell you the exact moment for me. So I was sitting in front of my TV, and I saw the 25th anniversary of Star Trek on TV, almost like a highlight reel or something like that, where it was just they took you through the original series and up to the TNG at that point. and there was interviews, and they just kind of went through like everything Star Trek, cumulative up to that point, and I was just like, seeing spaceships and all this stuff. I was like, oh my god, what is this stuff? And then I was watching Next Gen, probably like 91, maybe 92.
So then my question is for both of you, like, what was your initial reaction? Like your first time, like they transport onto that Borg cube and you see the Borg, like, it's freaky.
It was cool. I mean, at that point too, like, I felt like leading into year one after that, I felt like, like now you're starting to see some of that gritty stuff, because season 2 was bad. I mean, if you thought season 1 was bad, I thought season 2 was like even worse. Like
it takes the full 2 seasons for Star Trek to really find its stride.
Right. And I mean, when you think of what was the name of season 2's finale, where it's just Riker it's just a flashback episode. They didn't even need anybody. They just showed clips.
How about you, Kevin? Your initial reaction to the Borg?
I thought they looked like cadavers. Like it straight up looked like they had beamed into like a morgue. It was very eerie. And like, you're right. Yeah.
Borg rhymes with Borg.
Go away.
I'm just pointing out he's not
wrong. But yeah, and then the fact that they just ignored them on the ship was really interesting.
Like you were saying, I mean, it was cold. You're like desolate, these these beings and stuff like that, and then they just get switched on when they need to.
Right. It's like absent any kind of culture.
Yeah. Definitely cool.
And then Matt, like we're dealing with the fact that I think you said like Picard's thinking that he's tough shit, like they could deal with anything.
And then the Borg carve out several decks and kill and like essentially assimilate 18 people, and you can say that's where they first, as soon as they assimilate them, that's where, all right, we know about this Federation thing, we know about the Starfleet thing, let's go. And that basically, like, Picard's hubris is essentially what brings the Borg to them.
Which is kind of ironic going into our next episode, which is the best of both worlds. But I do want to quickly say, the reason this episode is so Picard-centric is because he basically has to say to Q, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was wrong. We were not ready for this. Get us back because we can't.
That's how he fixes it. He's like, hey, Q, I need you.
Yep.
He flat out says, I need you.
Yep. So yeah, getting into the best of both worlds, then we're now basically 2 seasons later. It's the finale of season 3. We get into the best of both worlds part 1, the Borg are invading.
So I will say this, the best of both worlds part 1, I was in elementary school when it aired. I remember watching it, and the whole, when you first see Picard, when he's fully assimilated, he's Locutus, and then when Riker says, Mr. Worf, fire, and the episode ends like,
and the din.
Yep.
That's how you know you're screwed.
Like I was like, elementary school age Matt was like freaking the fuck out. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I can't wait to see more of this. And I discovered that was the end of the season. So I had to wait for part 2.
But what's even better is then when part 2, and this is like with any arc, is when you hear Majel Barrett's voice and it's like, and now the conclusion.
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, let's bring it on, baby.
Yeah, I think that was my very first like big finale. Like, fuck you guys for ending the show right now. Like, what are you doing?
Who does this?
Yeah. But this is the episode where the Borg are coming and they know that they can't assimilate Earth without Picard because Picard is like the best captain in the Federation. So what do? They fucking assimilate him.
Well, they know he's like a figurehead almost.
Yeah.
For human society.
Yeah, basically, if they're able to assimilate Picard, it's like what other hope does humanity have if one of their best has been assimilated?
Well, you could
That's
also
like the point.
You could also make the argument of like they use his knowledge and tactical for the Battle of Wolf 359, where they
Right. Well, that's
essentially
what Brittany's
wipe out,
saying, yeah.
like the main Federation.
Well,
fleet.
when you watch DS9,
Yes.
when
just about to
Cisco
bring that up.
and
Yep, his
Picard
wife.
meet, I mean, there's that tension there because
Yep.
basically, you
Picard
killed my wife.
killed, Cisco's wife. And dude, that alone is a
Yeah.
great episode because that's a full character arc.
That is going to get kind of getting into our next episode, but I do want to mention something from the next episode, Family. We'll stick on Best of Both Worlds for just a second longer. The fact that like when he goes back to La Barre, France, his hometown, and like they want to throw a parade for him, I always thought that was a little weird because like he didn't do anything. Like if anybody should be getting a parade, it's Riker. Picard literally just decimated.
Jordy and Data.
Well, to be fair,
the ones who pulled him out.
well, to be fair though, Picard was still fighting even though he was assimilated because the whole
but
thing
he
when
also-
he told Data to make them sleep, that was how they destroyed. Yep,
Sleep,
that was how they
Data.
destroyed.
Crush is like, oh, he's so tired.
He's so tired.
And that's how obviously they that ties into the whole thing with First Contact when he says I resisted you still, I was always fighting you never really had me.
I get that, but it doesn't change the fact that he literally decimated the entire Federation fleet and killed thousands and thousands of people.
This is Star Trek. Everybody gets forgiveness, man. Doesn't matter.
That's pretty true.
Mr. Garrick, how dare you?
It's also France, and they've seen worse. So.
That's a very good.
And as far as they're, I'm just saying, French major here. But
Let's just drink a bottle of Chateau Picard 2457 and just forget about the whole thing.
they're more relieved. They're like, he's
2357.
returned, and also the fact that he was even in Starfleet is enough for a parade.
Something I wanted to point out on Best of Both Worlds is when I think it's the beginning of part 2 where Picard is doing the tour of the ship, and he ends up talking to Guinan, and he's confessing to Guinan it's a thing captains do before a battle, and she goes, a hopeless battle.
Oh, that was still part 1, but yeah.
And well, he says, oh, well, this battle wasn't lost. She's like, well, the captain didn't make it back. And that foreshadows later on in the episode where they win, but they lose Picard.
This was actually more of even though, it's Picard centric because he becomes the cutest, but dude, in both parts 1 and 2, Whoopi Goldberg killed it as Guinan.
Yeah.
I want her in Picard. I want her to show up. I think it's important because of the relationship. It hasn't been announced yet. But
I'm sorry, you mentioned Whoopi Goldberg, and I know I shouldn't bring this up because it's not related to Star Trek, but have you ever seen the Alice in Wonderland thing where they put her on a cat in that movie?
No.
It's worse than cats. Don't think about it. But anyway, I do love her as Guinan.
We
She
were
was
just
one of my
forgetting
favorite.
about cats, and you had to bring
no,
it
why
back
did you
up.
do
Yeah, no, she
It
does that.
invaded my brain, okay? I couldn't. Anyway, I love Whoopi. I love Guinan.
I think she's been assimilated by the cats and not the Borg, but
Oh, shit.
oh shit.
You might be right. They have been haunting my dreams.
Feline hypnosis.
Now, arguably, actually, the better performance from Patrick Stewart than in The Best of Both Worlds, even though he's very good in that, is directly following that episode is Family, season 4, episode 2, where he goes back to France and basically spends time with his family for the first time. He's been away in Starfleet for 25 years. He hangs out with his brother Robert and his nephew and his brother's wife.
Uncle.
Uncle, yeah. Hello, Uncle. Yeah. I want to cut all the way to near the end of this episode where Robert and Picard are fighting in the mud, and it goes from them laughing and then him just oh shit, I have PTSD. I got assimilated by the Borg and I did these horrible things. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about that.
Sure.
Yeah, he needed that. That episode was important because obviously there was, he's fighting. He's almost reflecting his his demons with the Borg onto his brother and stuff, and it's his brother ends up helping him snap out of it and realize no, I'm the one you shouldn't be fighting, and they help put aside their their long differences and stuff like that, and helps Picard break through the challenges that he was facing. So
I think part of the reason he starts the fight with his brother is probably an inherent guilt. He feels like he needs to be punished. So
right, and he also sees his brother now as
older
the Borg,
brother,
as his his captor almost.
Yeah.
So his brother plays two different.
He was really good. I don't know the actor's name who played Robert, but
yeah, he died this year too.
did he? Oh damn, he was really good.
Yeah.
Did anybody get a chance to ask him what the motivation of eating the grapes like Smeagol was though? I was really curious about that character choice.
I also like in this episode that you see for the first time in 4 seasons, Picard's struggling and thinking about the idea of possibly leaving Starfleet because he is a scholar and he's interested on things that go on in the world, and he gets this opportunity to possibly help raise the seabed, and he's actually considering it for a hot second. Obviously, he remembers that he's deeply in love with Starfleet and will never leave.
He's motherfucking Captain
Yeah, I'm
Jean-Luc
Captain
Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard. I ain't going to no ocean research station.
But it's one of my favorite episodes because of also the secondary storyline in there, Worf being awkward with his family. He's like, how about some of your roquette blood pie?
But why prune juice?
Pardon me? I just watched all these episodes, so very quotable right now. Let's move on to one, and I think what we'll do with this one, because can we all agree that maybe Darmok shouldn't have made this list?
Darmok. Yeah, it's a little.
I think what we'll do with this one instead is we'll talk about another honorable mention on our list, and how about we can either talk about Unification Parts 1 and 2 or Sarek, which I think actually should be on this list.
Yeah, I would say Sarek more. We were talking beforehand about this. Unification Part 1 and 2, it's another 2-story arc like Best of Both Worlds. It's a big 2-parter. You got Leonard Nimoy as Spock in there. You also have Denise Crosby as Sela.
Sela, yep.
It's a very memorable 2-parter, but watching Sarek is even more of an emotional episode.
And what's the actress? It's not Leonard Nimoy because that's Spock, but it's
Mark
Leonard.
Leonard.
Mark Leonard,
who also played in the original series as Romulan commander and Spock's father. And I mean that has more tie-ins to the upcoming Picard series, is being that there's Romulans. Sarek used to be in that high position and stuff like that. But that was such an emotional episode because you find out Sarek comes onto the Enterprise to be part of like a delegation where he's working with another leader and stuff, and then they come to find out that he has a neurological disease that only so many Vulcans get. It was called Bendai syndrome, and basically he can't keep his logical thought together. Vulcans are so composed.
It's basically the coming out of emotion.
Yeah, their emotions start pouring out, and it also had effect on the crew members as well. And so, crew members started acting out in angst and aggression and stuff. But it was really great because Picard was used as a vessel to help keep him intact.
He mind melds with Sarek, and then he's feeling all of these emotions that Sarek cannot feel, and basically Jean-Luc is feeling them for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Picard's ability to just be the most empathic person you've ever met, just completely willing to take on whatever you've got.
Just an outstanding performance from Patrick Stewart.
Absolutely.
Let's move on. Episode 6 is I, Borg, which is season 5, episode 23. And it is basically Picard's first time since being assimilated, coming across the Borg again. There's an injured Borg. Beverly's like, he's my patient, I have to beam him up. And Picard's like, okay, fine. And we deal with the fact, Picard has to struggle with either using this Borg as a weapon to destroy the collective or send him back to his people unharmed.
I think this ties in pretty well with the episode Measure of a Man also, because he can see past what people think Data is. And then seeing this injured Borg, it allows him to see that not only are, the Borg aren't just this other entity that is their enemy, and, they're contemplating whether or not to use a WMD on them. But there's this moment where he's like, there's free will here. So is it right for us to even do this and destroy this group of people? So, you see that it's not an accident that they have it as I, Borg. It's like I, Robot, literally.
Yeah.
So it's making that another connection that way, where it's like, if you see this in one group of people, you're going to have to see it across the board. So it does show his struggle, because obviously he doesn't want to be, look like he's sympathizing with the Borg in some way.
Well, Patrick Stewart also does a really good job in this episode of playing it just very I'm pissed off about this entire situation.
Well, he should be.
Yeah, I'm pissed off that I even have to be making these decisions.
Well, it's honestly for me, this episode is defined by the conversation he has with Guinan, where she says this person. He goes, "It's not a person, damn it, it's a Borg." And Guinan just kind of sits there and just patiently
She's
says,
"Okay, Jan."
Yeah, and she basically this person, and she just kind of reiterates to him somebody's going to come looking for him.
She was like, you
blah,
were
blah, blah.
too.
Yeah, but the whole thing that pisses me off about this episode is that she changes her mind, and Beverly's whole of all people, this never made sense to me for Beverly to have compassion for a Borg. What they do to someone that, let's face it, she loves, there's always that thing between them. Of all the people to be sympathetic, I know that she's a doctor. It always was just ugh.
But in a way, is she just picturing them like Picard was as a Borg? If in her mind, she's like, if this was you, I would have done that.
My thing is that I know you don't like the fact that Beverly, but there's real world things that mirror that, because I remember years ago. Because I remember years ago there was a video of a dude in Iraq, and he gets shot by an insurgent, and his body armor stops the bullet. The guy's a medic. The guy who shoots him ends up getting shot, and he has to treat him later, and he basically saves the guy's life.
Yeah.
So there is that thing of like a medical person, like their training and their instinct to try and help somebody overcomes everything else. So
Anybody else on Iborg?
No.
Yeah, well, I love this scene where Picard actually he pretends to be Locutus. He tests Hugh's more or less individuality now that he's away from the collective and has become an actual individual. He pretends to be Locutus, and he tests him like, hey, the goal is to assimilate these people. If we can't assimilate them, kill them. And Hugh made this connection with Geordi, and that is what sticks with Hugh. He says, Geordi cannot die, and like that is what like grounds Hugh's.
Yeah, he wants to save Geordi.
Right,
yeah.
And that's what proves to Picard that like this is not just a Borg. This is a young man.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it ties into the whole theme of like the overarching show with the whole reason why Q's watching them and testing them is to see if humanity is worth it, if they're allowed to continue evolving, or if they should even exist in the first place. So like, if he's able to overcome what the Borg did to him and also still see that like they're worth saving as well, like that's a complete, like that's a mirror. So
also that Hugh, the actor who played Hugh, is a rehabilitated Borg in Voyager. Actually, the same actor.
Oh yeah, he is in.
Yep.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
That makes it
Jonathan
even
Del
more
Arco.
interesting. Guys, we're gonna get to one of what many people think is the best episode of The Next Generation. It is season 5, episode 25, The Inner Light. Now, we did a Facebook poll asking people whether they thought this was the best episode of TNG, and actually, at a score of 8-4, people said no, it is not the best episode of TNG. I would say it's not the best episode of TNG
I wouldn't either.
But it's fucking fantastic.
You'd be hard pressed to get me to put a number 1 on any of them, to be honest.
That's fair. That's very fair. This is the episode where a probe is intercepted or the Enterprise intercepts a probe, and it basically takes over Picard's consciousness, and he all of a sudden lives the life of another person on the planet. It's a spacefaring time capsule, basically.
Yeah.
And his performance is just ridiculous in this episode. It is so good.
I don't even know how to sum it up. Like his performance that shows that Picard literally goes through an entire lifetime. And back in real world time or real space time, wherever they're at, to them it's only been a matter of 20 minutes or something
It was
crazy.
like 25
that?
minutes.
Yeah, 25 minutes. And for him, it was literally a lifetime. And he goes through this entire different culture, these lives and memories of these people that were real. And they send out this time capsule to be like, hey, we were real. This is what we experienced. We picked. I mean, it's kind of like what happens with Cisco. Like we chose you for a reason.
Right, yeah.
But how he reacts when he gets out of it finally, and he can't even believe, and all of a sudden he can play the flute at the end like that.
Yep.
Oh my God, because that shows that it was real. Whether or not it's in your mind or not, he learned that
all
you
of
can only
those
play a flute like that
experiences
over a lifetime.
have been imprinted in his mind.
Exactly.
Like, it's
And
not just imprinted. Like
they live through him now.
Right, I mean imprinted in the way like your synapses.
Oh
are,
yeah,
like,
100%. Like he is
experienced all of that.
I feel so
It's
awful
real.
forgetting the person that he became, but it's so much not just like he lived through that. Like I very much believe, and I think anybody you talk to about this episode that really enjoys it will say that he's not only Picard now, but he is also this person.
Yeah, he's the other man as well.
And I watched this episode with the audio commentary on, and what I love that they mentioned was like, we really wanted to play the end of this episode where, Picard, you think that he should be thrilled and happy to be coming back onto the Enterprise, and it's the
He
exact
misses his family.
Yeah.
it's the exact
He
opposite.
misses a life he didn't even know he had.
And what's great about that too is that they filmed all of that before they filmed any of the location stuff, and Patrick Stewart was still able to like play that sadness and melancholy for missing that life that he didn't live before he even filmed it.
Wow.
I thought that was incredible.
To
Patrick
sum up
Stewart.
another GIF, acting.
No, but honestly, Patrick
Yeah.
Stewart's physical acting is incredible.
It is. I mean, and obviously that flute song is just ingrained in Star Trek.
And plus, everybody
lore.
loves the Picard flute. So the fact that he just, stares like solemnly out the window at the end and just kind of like
Yeah.
flutes off, and you're just like, oh man, that hit me.
It did. Anybody else on the inner light?
No.
All right.
I want to talk about Tapestry, though.
All right. Well, you know what? Go ahead. Right on it. This is season 6, episode 15.
Weave us a tale.
And it's another great Q episode.
Honestly, once again, like going back to Q, like the whole beginning where Picard is like dead, and Q is like, "Yo, welcome to the afterlife, Jean-Luc. You're dead," and you find out like he has like artificial heart, which basically blew up.
Yep.
Like it malfunctioned and exploded in his chest, and so Q, like essentially, like at first it seemed like Q's just fucking with him, like, yeah, I'm just doing whatever, and you find out that it's more serious than that. Like, yeah, like basically Q's keeping him from dying at this point. And you go back through the choices that made him who he is, especially the big moment in the bar when he gets stabbed in the heart. And then he basically alters his past to where he doesn't take any risks and he doesn't become captain.
He becomes like a lieutenant, a blue shirt lieutenant.
Junior grade.
Yeah, he's like a science officer. And honestly, like one of my favorite parts of that whole episode is when he says like, I want to go back, and he gets stabbed and he just starts laughing, and you see him like laying on the med table. He's just laughing because he realizes that like, this has made me who I am. I love that episode.
Any one of these episodes that had audio commentary, I watched with it, and one of my favorite people in the entire world wrote this episode. It was Ron D. Moore, who is responsible for the Battlestar Galactica reboot and some other great shows on television. And he said that because Denise and Michael Lakota, who are very known for being like the big visual effects people for Star Trek, asked him like, did Picard actually die? Like, what was the idea? Was Q just fucking with him, or did he? Like, no, Picard was dead. Q gave him this choice, and Q at the end brought him back.
Yeah,
like he was dead. So I thought that was really unique. But this is,
and also nobody wants to watch Star Trek. Picard.
I would have watched Star Trek.
Lieutenant Junior grade, hanging out in astrophysics, just slumming it.
I would have watched that show. That would have been the old school Lower Decks.
Yeah, right. Picard gets demoted. Well, you know what's the nerd thing about Star Trek too is we love episodes like that like take you through and like and yeah, throwing on just like a different uniform for like a couple scenes. Like, am I wrong? Like, we love seeing like Picard in in the old Reds, and then being like, we love stupid stuff like that. That's
and we're gonna get to it, but that's also what's so great about the finale. You see him young, you see him old, and you see him like fucking.
Right,
senile.
I'm like, we got 3 Enterprises, and they gotta converge all at once.
But and what's great about this episode is Picard, like I think, also realizes for the first time that even though Q is really like the bane of his existence, he's also his friend. Yeah. Like Q is really his friend. And at the episode, he's talking to Riker. He's like, I have to like give thank you to Q for like making me realize that like my youth made me who I am.
Yeah.
Picard is Q's favorite human.
Yes,
is
exactly.
what it boils down to.
Exactly. Let's get to another. This is an amazing 2-parter. Chain of Command, which I was really shocked did not have audio commentary. I was looking for all the audio commentary. This is season 6, episodes 10 and 11. Very quickly, Admiral Nechayev comes aboard, and she's like, "You're losing your ship there, Jean-Luc. Peace out." And he's obviously going on this covert mission. Then you get the giant douchebag Captain Jellicoe, who's like,
I hate Jellicoe.
Oh, he was one of like the best, even though he wasn't a bad guy, like one of the best like people you'd love to hate.
No, he's great at being an asshole.
Gonna need you to have proper bridge attire.
He's in, I believe, the Stargate SG-1 too, and he is also the adversary.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, it's Ronnie Cox. He's the dickhead in every movie.
Exactly.
He's Total Recall. He's RoboCop. He's you're like, fuck this guy.
Right, yeah. You see him, you're just like,
yeah.
You
love when like he wants to take out Picard's fish tank.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah,
first
lose
order.
the fish.
I need that fish tank out of here.
Ronnie Cox just walks down the street and he just gets punched by random people. Like, fuck you. Oh.
But what besides loving to hate him, what makes this episode great is in the second part where he's being. Brittany really wants to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just eating me up inside. You guys said Jellicoe.
It's a Jellicoe cat.
The Jellicoe cat.
Stop it!
It's
Please
killing me.
stop it.
Is Picard being tortured by this Cardassian played by the amazing David Warner?
who will always be a 6-year-old boy to him.
There's that great scene where the Cardassian's daughter is in the room and Picard's like, I'm surprised that you let her see all this. And she's like, from a very young age, she's taught that you're the enemy. And then obviously Brittany just put up the 4. Everybody knows it. There are 4
Lights. Talk about like intense torture though, because like if somebody is literally telling you, like they put a picture of like I don't know, literally 4 lights up, and they're like, "Can you tell me there's 5? Tell me there's 5," and then you don't, and they just torture the crap out of you.
This is one time that Picard really didn't want to say.
Make it so.
Yeah, right.
Going back to what you were saying when he was the Cardassian was torturing Picard right in front of his daughter. Picard flat out he's being tortured by this man. Then he goes and gives him like some sage life advice, like when children are taught to devalue others, they can devalue their parents too.
Yeah, yeah.
You also have to think too, like he probably just smelled like urine too.
Oh yeah,
like if you were like
yeah.
in that. Like he just looks so grimy and dingy.
The makeup was great.
Yeah, I mean that's the best part is like that he once again Picard truly gets like broken down and still comes out on top.
It's one of the most subtle things in the episode is at the very end he's back on the Enterprise. They do the switching of commands real quick. And then he immediately looks at Will and says, "You have the bridge number 1." Just gives a quick side eye to Troy, and she knows to follow and goes in the ready room. And he's like, "There were 4 lights, but at the end, I truly believe there were 5." And I was ready to tell him anything, and I would have stayed on. I guess they would have brought him to Cardassian, but like goosebumps.
I'm already tearing up.
I know.
Do you think they got rid of Delta Shift after Jellicoe left?
I believe Delta Shift. I still think that Riker never implemented Delta Shift. Guys, let's get to our final episode here, and it is probably the standard bearer, how a finale should be done for a television show. All Good Things.
Like my 2 favorite parts from All Good Things is when the 3 Enterprises are in the rift and they start blowing up, and when Q leans over, he goes 2 down, 1 to go, and the ships are and they're trying to close the rift and all that stuff like that, and then when he gets teleported, he's back in that little judging chamber where he basically first encountered Q, and Q's just kind of sitting there, and he's just like, "Oh, what about this?" He's like, "God, you keep asking about everything." He goes, "Gotta ask about your fish next." He goes, "Yeah, you've saved humanity once again, Jean-Luc." And once again, that goes into the whole relationship that he and Q have done. Q basically saved humanity again, and he used Picard to do it. And also, of course, you can't talk about this episode without the ending poker scene when Picard walks in for the first time.
Yes.
I do have to play a soundbite from that because that is just such a great scene when he finally joins the poker team, and you get this quote from it.
So, 5-card stud, nothing wild. And the sky's the limit.
Oh, goosebumps.
And it does the pan back, and you see the Enterprise going off, and perfect way to end a show. I was completely happy with this ending.
Well, it bookends the series, right? Because the first and last episodes are low-key Q episodes.
Yeah.
And it really, you can infer almost that the entire series is just the study of how Q affected the Enterprise.
Pretty much. It was just a study of humanity.
Yeah.
The whole show.
Yeah.
As much as Star Trek is expanding and looking into other cultures, it is a reflection of humanity. And that's what goes back to all of Star Trek and what Roddenberry wanted.
Yes.
It's such a cool episode. I still wouldn't rank this as my top or my favorite. It does a lot, but at the same time, it's not one of my favorites, but it's a very cool episode. How
about that Enterprise with the 3 nacelles and that giant laser that
I got one of
tears apart the Klingon battleships?
I have one of the replica toys for that.
Jealous.
Yeah. Nice. And what's cool is that it actually switches from the regular Enterprise D to
that's
that.
Cool.
So put the lasers
Transformers.
In the cell, and gonna pull it out of dry dock for this one day. But this episode too also helped inspire Marvel Endgame and stuff too. So,
that's true. Yeah.
So it's not uncommon to know that Feige is a big Trek guy, and there was a lot of tie-ins with this. So
the last thing I want to say about this episode, because we're talking about all of this because Picard is about to debut, is it's going to be really interesting to see what carried over from the future that we see in All Good Things into this future, which is maybe around that same time.
Obviously not the Enterprise D.
Not the Enterprise D. Not the big D.
Who wants the D?
All right, guys, that's going to do it. I had a lot of fun doing this. Let's do this.
Let's make sure history never forgets the name Enterprise.
That's
Make it
good.
so.
Yes, make it so. Bill, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on the internet. You
Just the
access
internet.
it
Just
through
Google them.
through your phone or your computer. We're on the Cinescape. Cinescape.media is the new site. Check us out. Also, just a quick shout out. We had Kristen Bell give a heartwarming shout out to a young boy named Rowdy who is having some health issues, and we just got to make a little wish come through for him. So check him out on our Facebook page as well. There's a video on there. We'd appreciate it, and he would as well. So
You guys made me cry last time I watched that video. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, man. That's going to do it. For Bill, for Kevin, for Matt, for Brittany, I'm Julian. We'll be back next week with our Picard review. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Bigliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.